My name is Evan Forward. I lead business development at New England Excess Exchange in the Northeast region of the country. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you all for that weren't able to join us today for your interest. We're definitely recording this and we'll share this afterwards. So I just had a couple things I wanted to say just to get started here. So today we have Andrew Guido and Ryan McCarthy here from USLI to discuss their offerings when it comes to nonprofit sports leagues. And I really appreciate you guys being with us today, very much so. Now, a number of carriers have been exiting this class, so you may have already seen influx and quote requests from sports leagues. But if you haven't, I challenge you to seek out these organizations in your communities and offer your assistance. At NEE, we work with a number of carriers that are looking to compete for this business and are prepared to provide competitive solutions. USLI is definitely top of the line there and kind of our center of our target. But we also have other markets that can support for lines that USLI can't consider or special circumstances. Now, while this webinar does deal with a commercial class of business, my intent here is in offering it is more to provide agents, regardless of their experience writing nonprofits, an easy way to support organizations that do good work in their communities. This is because in addition to good coverage, USLI provides its insureds an array of business support resources free of charge, entirely designed to help them grow and be financially sustainable. I know you guys are going to probably touch on this, and I'm sorry to steal your thunder there, but this means, though, that when you offer a solution that includes the USLI line of business, even if it's not all of the lines of business, if they have one line with USLI, you're not only offering insurance protection, but also a foundation to help ensure that these organizations can continue to do good work. And that only feels good. It also helps position your agency as a steward in the community, which helps to drive referrals and build customer loyalty. Now, most agencies that we work with already have a really strong reputation in their community surrounding their office. But seeking out nonprofits with missions that align with your values in other communities can be a good way to build a positive presence in a place you're looking to grow in. Now, the nice thing about nonprofits is that one nice thing anyway, is that they are required by the IRS to disclose much of the information that you need to quote their insurance. So it can be a pretty easy process. We'll also probably get into that today as well. Now, I just wanted to kind of close my remarks here by saying that many of our agents have reported that the hard property market we're in right now has strained their relationships with insureds that do not understand the drivers behind rate increases and non-renewals. The irony is that many of our agents are having to work twice as hard as they were 3 years ago to find and retain coverage for their clients, and their clients are still unhappy. Now, making an effort to offer good, affordable coverage and support services to community organizations is a way your agency can break down that divide and maybe prompt your insureds to pause before becoming frustrated with a rate increase and maybe, hopefully, see that their agent is on their side. And actually, this is the final point. For those of you that don't have experience working with nonprofits, I really want to especially encourage you to consider making USLI's phone quote line your first step. And that's because if you quote over the phone, you're going to be talking with an experienced USLI underwriter that can talk you through the process. So you don't need to be an expert to provide your client a high quality of service. And remember, our underwriters at NEE are also always here to answer any questions you may have and help if USLI can't write all lines of coverage your insured needs. We want to make sure that you come away with a full solution, however we put that together. So those are my remarks. I'm happy to turn it over to, I'll just send it over to you, Ryan, to kind of take from here, and Andrew is the expert underwriter on the call as well. So thanks for joining us, and take it away, guys.
Great. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate that. So yeah, like Evan mentioned, my name is Ryan McCarthy. I am with our Instant Quote marketing team here at USLI. Today I'm joined by Andrew Guido on our nonprofit team. And the whole goal of today is covering all sorts of sports organizations, camps, leagues that we can currently write at USLI and how we can get quotes on them. So get into a quick agenda of what we'll be talking about today. So Andrew's going to talk about some opportunities and some trends, and then go over our USLI Sports Advantage product in a bit more detail. and then I'll go over how you can get quotes with USLI through New England Excess Exchange. Using our Facebook platform that if there are any questions, by all means, feel free to toss them out in the chat here, but we'll definitely save some time at the end for any questions. And with that, Andrew, I will pass it over to you so we can get started.
Great, thanks everybody. It's glad to be here. I'm Andrew Guido, so I'm the nonprofit package underwriter. And today, great thing about this product is you don't have to be a sports person, but we're all insurance people. So there's a great opportunity for sports all around the United States here, especially coming in the springtime, summertime. There's all the camps and leagues and everything going on. People want to get outside, get some exercise. So just some quick data points here. There are over 140,000 sports associations with over 45 million people getting involved in different organized sports. Big emphasis on youth sports there. Around 60% of youth sports participants are involved in non-school sports, meaning kind of like those non-school teams. So, your summer leagues, your camps, your clinics, your clubs. And then the other thing is, there's a lot of adults that are involved in recreational sports each year, and it just keeps growing. So one of the biggest classes, which I'll touch on and something we write, pickleball. So it's kind of the pickleball craze there. So we see, quite a bunch of these submissions here on a weekly basis. So some recent trends in the market. So part of our expansion as far as offering insurance to these types of organizations is a lot of these sports teams, they don't own or have their own facility. So many times they're going to use the school field, or maybe the church has a indoor gym, or the local community center. Where before they would just let the team come in and play, kind of no questions asked. Now the schools and the churches are practicing good, insurance risk management and saying, hey, you can practice and play your games here, but you have to have your own insurance. So we don't want to be your insurance carrier. Our insurance policy is not to cover you, so you have to have your own. Sometimes, especially in your sports now, sometimes we see parents get a little too excited and a little too into the game. So we have seen an increase in incidents in assault and battery, and this could also happen in adult sports too. People get a little too geared up in, sometimes there's some incidents that we have seen in some of our claims. So programs out there's some programs out there that have been writing sports for a while, and now they're kind of reduced. Some are reducing coverage for associations to just addressing specifically accident injury, so kind of the medical portion of the sports. So, what I'm going to talk about is we can offer comprehensive policy to be able to carry that. And, certain carriers we've seen that used to, write these are no longer offering abuse and molestation covers. But so especially on the youth sports, that's a very important coverage to have there. Okay, so getting, what is the basic USLI appetite? And as Evan said, the great thing about our partnership with USLI in New England Excess Exchange there is if there's something we can't do at USLI, New England Excess Exchange has many other markets that can, go and look at these types of risks. So, as I mentioned before, I'm the nonprofit package underwriter, but this is one of the classes where we can actually consider for-profit sports risks. So there's for-profit leagues and clubs and things like that, along, because they're very similar to the nonprofit classes we see also. Single sports, so, we can do a baseball team, volleyball team, soccer team, or sometimes we see local associations where, they might have soccer and baseball during the summertime, basketball during the winter, another sport during the fall. So we can do those different sports all on one policy. Just so you know, so we're not looking for actual school team. So if it's, a high school team or a junior high team or a team that's specifically for a school, um, that's not going to be within our realm. But again, New England Access may have some different options for that. We see a lot of instructional skill clinics and day camps, so we can write many of those. And again, we can consider both the youth and the adult participants. Okay. What we're not looking for, so we're not doing any semi-pro kind of collegiate level, professional level type associations or teams. So, specifically the youth and the recreational. No beer leagues. So, if they're dragging a keg of beer out there on the field, to have for the softball game, so every time somebody hits a home run, you kind of chug a beer. That's not what we're looking for. And then specifically for this product, sports venues and facilities. So at USLI, we're not going to write that. Let's say it's a, kind of a big sports facility where, the different teams and associations come and play there and rent space there. We're looking to cover more of the actual leagues and teams versus the actual venue. Now, if we do have, let's say, sometimes we'll see these baseball sports associations where, or, softball associations where they do own and maintain their own fields, we can definitely consider that. Okay, and this is not all of our appetite, but just kind of some of the base appetite that we see. Think about your baseball, basketball, bowling, field hockey, flag football, golf, said paddle sports, including pickleball, lacrosse, soccer, softball. So a whole variety of different types of sports there that we can consider. Higher appetite, higher hazard sports we can consider. We do, just so you know, on these higher hazard sports, we do exclude participant injury. So just so you know that, so we do see some cheerleading, some contact martial arts, especially with the youth there. We see a lot of programs there, cycling, fencing, rugby, skateboarding, and wrestling. So we can consider those, but again, just due to a little bit higher nature of potential injury, we do exclude participant injury. Okay, ineligible sports for USLI. So tackle football, we had written this in the past, and there were a lot of injury or things that came out about concussions and things like that. So that's when we decided to stop writing. Competitive cheerleading. So this is, I would say, similar to gymnastics type exposure where they're going to meets and doing a lot of competitive cheering and a lot of acrobatics. Um, Ice, street, and roller hockey. On a case-by-case basis, we may be able to consider, roller hockey there. We're trying to expand our appetite a little bit. And then any type of shooting sports or archery or, something where projectile is going to be hurled out at a high speed and could potentially cause injury. So product offering. So the great thing about USLI is we can offer a lot of different coverages for these organizations all on one policy. Now they don't have to take all of these coverages, but they're there and we can offer them. So on general liability, especially for youth sports, abuse and molestation, um, we have the assault and battery coverage there that we put on as a sublimit. Then again, we don't see it often, but sometimes these sports games, people get upset at the umpire or something like that. Things get a little out of hand. We have seen some claims for assault and battery. Higher non-known auto coverage and special events. So we include these special events on there. We don't have to schedule those, which is a great thing. So if they're having any fundraisers throughout the year, that's going to be covered. Year-end dinner also. So the crime coverages, employee theft, inland marine. Now we do see quite a bit of inland marine, especially for the sports equipment for these types of organizations. Property coverage, like I said, we do see those organizations where they do own and maintain their own fields. So we can do the fences, the dugouts, the light poles, all that type of property on these. One thing I really want to mention is don't miss out, or, you know, don't forget about the directors and officers and employment practice coverage. So I always tell people, if you're ever on the board of a nonprofit, make sure there's directors and officers coverage, because somebody could get upset. Unfortunately, today's day and age, people sue for anything or get upset about anything, even if it's a frivolous lawsuit. If you don't have this directors and officers coverage or employment practice coverage, you would have to hire your own attorney. Um, and the great thing, and I'll talk a little bit more about the employment practices, is that we include volunteers as employees also. And with all our quotes there for the youth, we do offer a separate accident medical quote when we send out our regular general liability directors and officers quote with these. And the big thing with the accident medical is you don't have to take that. If you have other options for accident medical, that's fine. You can also use any other options you have. We just offer it as an option because a lot of times people don't have avenues to have the accident medical coverage, which is pretty important, especially for the youth organizations. Okay, what are the coverage needs? So I talked about accident and medical, so the participant injury coverage. So on the adult sports, we are excluding participant injury, but on the youth sports, we can include participant injury on our general liability when they have that accident and medical coverage in place. Spectator injury, somebody hits a foul ball or kicks a soccer ball into the stands and hits somebody in the nose. We can consider teams that do some overnight travel, even on the youth side. We just want to make sure the proper guidelines are in place for travel. Injury to coaches and volunteers, so that's a big thing. The abuse and molestation, fundraising events, again, especially on the, even on the for-profit side, a lot of times they'll have fundraising events, car washes to try and raise money for the youth sports. Maintaining the facilities and fields, concession stands. So we can definitely consider concession stands, selling hot dogs, sports, or even sports equipment. Sometimes they'll have a little store for that, covering the sports equipment, again, the inland marine, and then kind of fund management, which kind of ties into the directors and officers coverage. Are you using the money appropriately, raising enough money to support the organization you're in? Okay, so general liability. So the big thing, with our coverage is, we're covering, again, spectator liability. Again, if somebody trips and falls going up the bleachers, or somebody struck by, a ball that, leaves the field of play, that's going to cover any suit brought by spectators. Abuse molestation, we can cover that up to $1 million for the youth organizations. Again, assault and battery, we include a $50,000 sublimit at no charge. A lot of times, a big thing we offer is the blanket additional insured endorsement. So again, most of these organizations don't own or maintain their own field. So they might play at one school one day, maybe they're playing at a different school another day, and they've got to name all these the operators of the fields as additional insured. So the great thing about the blanket additional insured is the one-time, charge, and can have as many additional insureds on there as they want. And the fundraising and special events are automatically included. We can offer that higher non-owned auto in most states. And for the youth organizations, when they have the accident medical policy in place, we can cover the participant injury for on the general liability portion of the policy. So the accident medical, so this additional quote that's going to be attached to the main quote is going to cover and provide medical expenses for participants. Again, parents may not always have health, insurance policies themselves that might adequately cover an injury. So it's always great to have this accident medical policy in place there. A companion accident quote, again, is always included. Just so you know, it's actually done by a third party. It's not USLI paper. It's done through AG administrators. We've partnered with them to be able to offer that accident medical coverage, just because we see a big need for it out there when we send these quotes out. And again, the AG administrator quote that goes out, you're not required to bind that or take that coverage, especially if you already have or they have accident medical with a different carrier. That's fine. Okay, so just kind of some of the claims that we've seen, to think about the comprehensive coverage here. So, we had one claim where a little league player sued after being hit by a ball at a youth baseball game, $150,000. That's pretty sizable if you don't have insurance. Even if you do have insurance, it's pretty sizable. We had one, a female fell over at a table at a local basketball game, really messed up her leg. So $645,000 lawsuit for pain and suffering and lost wages. We had a patron at a fundraiser. Somebody, they had alcohol at the fundraiser. They were knocked over by an intoxicated patron. Insured 31,000, and then $185,000 in water damage to a neighboring structure after a baseball passed through a net and struck a sprinkler head, neighboring property, and caused some damage there. Property and inland marine. So for property coverage, we can go up to 300 million, 3 million in total coverage. Coastal areas, we limit our coverage down to 1 million. And we do offer theft coverage, and we do not require an alarm or anything like that. Inland marine, again, we can put this all in one policy. We'd see quite a bit of this, especially for the sports organizations, associations, maybe, it's helmets or goals or signs. Sometimes they're portable scoreboards. So we can go up to 500,000 on a policy, up to 25,000 per scheduled item. And as I talked about before, don't miss out on the directors and officers coverage. This is very important. It comes in with managing the funds and running the operations of the association or the team correctly. You want to have that coverage in place, because if they don't, a simple lawsuit could probably wipe out the whole financials of the organization. So we offer full prior acts, meaning any prior acts that come up that haven't been reported or noted, would be covered under the directors and officers and employment practices. Again, the definition of insured does include employees and volunteers. So a lot of people tell me, take the employment practice coverage off. I always tell them, just so this covers volunteers, and it also covers what we call third-party harassment and discrimination. So, and we do see claims from this. And the third-party discrimination harassment coverage would be, so let's say, for some reason they didn't let somebody who wanted to join the team onto the team, and that person's upset, and they turn around and say, well, due to um, my race or whatever it is, you didn't let me on the team, so you're discriminating against me, and I'm going to sue you. So that's where that third party discrimination and harassment coverage comes in, which is very important. Um, Somebody makes a bad joke or something like that, somebody gets upset and wants to sue. Again, that's going to be the third party discrimination and harassment coverage. Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to Ryan, but we'll be here definitely to answer all the questions.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. And that's some great information there. So Evan had mentioned this briefly earlier, but the beauty of placing business with USLI is one great resource that we have available for all USLI policyholders is going to be our Business Resource Center. So we do have a suite of free and discounted services that are really centered around kind of helping small business and providing them with resources. So there's some great services in here, such as a free HR hotline. There's discounted background checks, drug screenings, tenant screenings as well. I know like background checks will probably be a big factor when we're talking about sports organizations, especially youth sports organizations. But there's a whole suite of other services that are in here. And like I mentioned, anyone who has a USLI policy is eligible to use these services. Now, there is also a great feature built in on this website. It's called our cost calculator. You could actually plug in, say they had to do 3 background screenings over the course of the next year, how much they were going to be paying, and you could see the actual savings in a dollar amount and actually calculate those. And as the slide says, it can really help to strengthen the client relationship, can protect the long-term operation, can protect the business, and really just provide them with some great tools that are going to help your clients to expand and grow their business. So I definitely encourage you to check this out and utilize it. Some great resources there. And at this point, I will talk about how you can quote some of these organizations and how you can quote with USLI in general. So we do have this dedicated phone number. It's going to be 888-875-4439. Now, this would be the fastest way for you to get quotes directly with USLI through New England Excess. Whenever you dial into this number, you'll be connected to our team of experienced underwriters. They'll ask you on average around 8 to 10 questions. The average call usually is about 5 to 10 minutes, give or take. And if we can write that risk, we'll send you a quote along with a pre-filled application right at the end of that phone call. Now, in the event you called in and maybe the risk needs some more underwriting or it's not something we can quote right over the phone, that underwriter will actually send you over the application that we would need to quote that risk. In the third scenario is if you were to call in and say we just weren't going to be a market for the risk that you were looking to quote that day, we'd actually refer you back to New England Excess Exchange. Like Andrew mentioned, they have numerous other markets. So if we're not going to be a home for something, we'll get you over to them so they can take a look at it. Some of the major benefits of our platform here is, the biggest one here is it's going to save a lot of time. The platform is set up to be quick, easy, simple to use. We don't need any application or record forms up front in order to quote. And we'll send you that pre-filled app like I mentioned. And this will provide you with a lot of flexibility. We've seen agents save the number as a speed dial number, calling in while they're stuck in traffic or in the car. So it definitely can provide you some flexibility, just knowing that you can call in regardless of where you are. As far as expertise goes, that team, they are product experts. They're very knowledgeable. So they're going to be able to go through the coverage benefits and options, features of the policy, and they'll be able to kind of explain everything. So they're definitely very knowledgeable, and I encourage you to use them as a resource and ask questions. And they're also very accessible as well. So as you can see on the slide here, the team is in at 7 a.m. Through 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if anyone out there is quoting on Saturdays, maybe you're at a local athletic game on a Saturday morning and you want to see if you can quote the risk right then and there, that team is also available from 9 a.m. through 1 p.m. on Saturdays too. And so at this point, the best way to show you is by actually showing you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get us connected to our underwriting team, and we'll go through a test quote here we'll do for a youth soccer camp. But in the meantime, this is our instant quote postcard. This is going to show all of the different products that we can quote using this platform. You can see that phone number is highlighted in there in yellow. So what I would encourage you all to do is if you want to save this number into your phone or take a look at this and see all the different products here. There's currently about 53 of our 117 total products that we can quote right over the phone. But I'm going to get us connected right now. It is going to put me on mute briefly, so I will be right back.
I just was talking to myself with being muted. Question. I had a question for you, Andrew. I was just talking with an agent about sports leagues earlier today, and they mentioned that the one customer of theirs had the concern that sports leagues are the
Hi, this
only.
is Mackenzie.
Oh, let them go.
Hi, everyone. We have sorry, Evan. We have Mackenzie on the line. We're ready to go through our test flows.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. And what are we going to be quoting for our test quote today?
Yep. So I think we'll do a youth soccer camp.
Okay, wonderful. We can consider that under our Sports Advantage product. What's going to be the named insured?
We will do a test soccer camp.
Okay, great. And this is going to be for youth, correct?
Correct.
Any losses or claims in the last 3 years?
No, not for this one.
And what lines of coverage are you looking for? We offer directors and officers, general liability, as well as property coverage.
Yeah, so if we could do the general liability, and then also if we could do the directors and officers, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, we can package those together, absolutely. And what state is this in?
For this, we'll say Rhode Island.
Okay. And what is the applicant's address?
We will do 123 Main Street.
And what city or zip code would this be in?
We'll do 02860.
860. Okay, great. And Pawtucket?
Yep, Pawtucket's right.
All right, wonderful. Does this organization have volunteer coaches?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you know how many coaches they have?
Yeah, for this, we'll just say 2.
2, great. Do they have a code of conduct or a zero tolerance for violence policy in place?
Yes, they do.
And does the organization have parents or guardians sign waivers or assumptions of liability prior to children participating?
Correct, they do.
Okay, great. How many children will be in each session of the soccer camp?
We'll say 20.
20? Okay.
Yep.
And what's the average number of days per session? Like, are they 5-day weeks or like 2-week sessions?
We'll say it's like 3 days a week.
3 days a week. Okay, great. What limit of liability would you like quoted?
Can we do 1 million, 2 million?
Sure. And do you know what their revenues are as far as dues or donations?
We'll say they collect around $2,000 a year.
Okay, great. And this is 100% volunteer based. You don't have any employees, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Is there any overnight activities or any travel?
Nope.
Any additional insureds needed or a blanket additional insured?
If we could have the blanket on there, I think that'd be good.
Definitely. This does not have a premises endorsement, so if they are going to multiple fields throughout the policy term, this is going to follow them wherever they're going in the coverage territory.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you for all of those details. We did just complete the instant quote process. We have a quote with USLI, United States Liability Insurance Company. It's an admitted quote. It's also A++ rated. Total is $1,385 for the year, and we can direct bill that in 3 payments. $500 of that premium is the general liability, and then the D&O is $885. That'll be broken out on the quote for you. Any questions or anything else we can help you with today?
I think that's good. That sounds great. It's a good premium.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Hope you have a great afternoon.
Great. Thank you, Mackenzie.
You're welcome.
Bye now. All right, everyone. That will be what the process will look like every time when you call in. See, we went through some quick questions, and we would already have that quote right in our inbox, ready to go with that pre-filled application. And for that one, it did have the general liability as well as the D&O that Andrew had mentioned earlier. So, like I said before, anything you see on this postcard here, I encourage you to call in, and that will be what the process will be like. And so, just to recap, what you can expect after that phone call. Like I said, that quote and that pre-filled application, that would be right in your inbox right at the end of that phone call. Now, New England Excess Exchange will also receive a copy of that quote as well. So we're making sure we're sending them a copy whenever you get a copy as well. Now, if you are going to be moving forward and binding coverage, all those bind requests are going to be sent over to your contact at New England Excess. And just to recap what we covered today, so in order to get a quote, all you need to do is dial that phone number, that 888-875-4439. We don't need any Accord forms up front, like I mentioned, and that team is available with those extended hours as well. Now, you do also have the ability to quote with us directly online by visiting www.neee.com. There is a great web chat feature built into our online quoting portal there. That you can actually chat in with that same underwriting team that we just spoke to, should you have any questions. So just to recap kind of the web chat side, so whenever you are quoting online, you feel free to use that chat feature. Should you have any coverage questions, or if you get hung up or anything like that, that team will work with you to turn that submission into a quote. All right, and so that pretty much concludes what we had covered today. Like I said, Andrew and I will stick around if you guys do have any questions. But thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us today, and we definitely appreciate it.
So much, Ryan and Andrew. Really appreciate it. We covered a lot of great stuff today. Some impressive premium there for particularly all the coverage you're offering. Any of the folks on the line here have any questions for these guys? I had just one, but I'd love to hear if any of you have anything. Well, feel free to just pop into the chat if so. I just wanted to ask, one agent I was talking with about sports leagues said that they received one of their clients said, my league only runs for several months out of the year, but the policy is a year long. How would you respond to something like that? I'm assuming you don't offer short-term policies, but I understand that kind of thinking.
Oh, sure. Yeah, actually, we can go down to actually a 3-month policy.
Oh,
3 so we can. So we do see those for especially the sports camps, because sometimes we see some of the sports camps. You've got the school teacher during the year who might be coaching one of the actual school teams, and during the summertime they need to make money, so they're going to operate a basketball camp or a volleyball camp or whatever it is, but it might only be 3 weeks long or something. So we can go down to a 3-month policy there. Just so a lot of times, especially kind of the larger leagues, you have the exposure, so the annual coverage though is also going to cover like any meetings or events they have, when the league is out of season too. So just a reminder on that, but we can do shorter terms if they do need it.
nice. Very interesting. Thanks for clarifying that. Well, if there aren't any more questions, feel free to pipe in if you do. But I thank you so much for taking the time today, hey guys. We'll definitely get this recording out to the people that did attend today to hopefully maybe share with anybody else in your office you think might be interested. And hope to see you at another webinar again soon. Let us know what you're interested in hearing about too. We can try to serve that need.
Great. Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Take care, everyone.